Okay, so the recording has started. I'll hand over to the chair, Councillor Anna Abella.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Councillor Anna Abel, and I am the chair of the licensing subcommittee. I'm going to, before we proceed, ask my fellow panel members to introduce themselves and then the council officers. Councillor Gunes, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Councillor Makbula Gunes. I represent South Tottenham Ward and I'm also a panel member for licensing subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Da Costa?
Councillor Nick Da Costa, representing Highgate Ward and a member of the licensing subcommittee.
Thank you. Could I ask the legal officer to introduce himself, please?
Hello, I'm Sadiqul Rahman and I'm the legal officer for Haringey Council.
Thank you. And could I ask the licensing team leader to introduce herself?
Good evening, I'm Dale Barrett, the licensing team leader.
And could I ask the clerk to introduce himself?
Good evening, I'm Nazir Chowdhury. I'm Democratic Services and I'm the clerk to this meeting.
Excellent. For everyone's awareness, this meeting is being recorded and it will be available for public viewing. Clerk, are there any apologies for absence?
No apologies, Councillor. All members are present.
And are there any items of urgent business?
No items listed, Chair.
Thank you. And do the members of the subcommittee have any declarations of interest to make?
No declaration.
No
Thank you.
declaration.
Thank you. So I'm going to summarize the procedure that we are going to follow today. The procedure was also emailed to all the participants by the clerk ahead of this meeting. So for the purposes of any members of the public watching, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the applicant will present their case. The objectors and the subcommittee will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the objectors will present their representation, and the subcommittee and applicant will have the opportunity to ask questions. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up, and then the meeting will conclude to allow the subcommittee to deliberate and reach a decision. The decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. If you are present in the room, I will ask the clerk to help me to identify who has raised their hand. We will take all papers as read, unless there is anything you wish to draw our attention to. All speakers will be allocated 5 minutes to speak. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time, unless you request for an extension of time, which is at the discretion of the chair. Please do not share any addresses of speakers, and in the event that there are several speakers for each party, please avoid repetition and perhaps consider having a spokesperson to address all concerns. We're going to start off with the application for a new premises license at Smoky Lounge. Ms. Barrett, please can you introduce your report?
Thank you, Chair. Before I get into the report, Chair, can I just raise some... I'm mindful that there's been documents submitted. So we have received some documents late Friday night that obviously we didn't see until this morning. And whilst they've been shared, a further document also came in later on during the day, which was a statement from the business owner. So there is a query really to be asked in relation to the late document. I've taken the opportunity of sending that around, but I'm mindful that not everybody has had the opportunity to see these documents and had the opportunity to actually consider them fully. And we were also not able to access the link that was sent in on that same email either. So maybe we need to hear from Mr. Sutherland and his clients really, and also from the other parties, because obviously they've not had the opportunity to view these chairs, these late items.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. So before I ask whether there are any objections to considering these late papers and late submissions, I'd like to check with the legal officer, Mr. Rahman. What is the position in relation to submissions that are circulated late?
Okay, so the where documents have been submitted late and not in accordance with the licensing procedure that Haringey Council operate, The general rule is that the evidence or the late submissions shouldn't be allowed for the hearing. But the next step really is essentially for the chair to ask any parties involved in the hearing whether there's any consent or objection to the late submissions. If there is consent to late submissions, then either by objectors or members of the committee, then it's not an issue. If there are objections and documents have been made available, the committee can still decide to allow or not, and the considerations that the committee needs to look at factors are have regard to the reasons for the late submission, how far other parties may be prejudiced by the late submission, and also, very importantly, the extent of prejudice to the submitting party if the evidence is rejected. And in making the decision, the committee should consider whether it's in the public interest to adjourn for a short period or to a later date. So those are the factors that the committee needs to consider. And so the first step really is to gather the views of the party that is hearing and hear from the applicant.
Chair, can I just point out, please, for the parties that aren't aware what's been submitted in terms of the additional documents. So we've got the noise management plan. I've asked if there was any changes to that particular document itself today from the agent, because obviously there is a version of the noise plan within the report pack already. There is a further document from DAA, is it, which is some further guidance or clarification, I suppose, in relation to noise monitoring that's been carried out, or responses to things in relation to the application. There is also a dispersal policy document that was submitted as well, and the links that were, so I don't know if it was for footage or for recordings, but we've not been able to access those, so I cannot speak to those at all. And then today we've also received a witness statement from the applicant, which she is wanting to have or to be relied upon. I did respond back to say that obviously it was late in the day for that to be submitted, and she would be at liberty to speak if time allowed in terms of wanting to cover the matters that she's put in that written submission.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett, and thank you, Mr. Rahman, for the overview of the council's position on this and the next steps we can take. So first of all, I'd like to check, are there any objections to the acceptance of these late documents?
People would object because we've been delayed and delayed.
Can I just check who it is that's speaking, because I can't really
Brian
see
Barnes.
Thank you. And you are an objector?
Yeah, objector.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we've been delayed, and now they want to throw in late documentations. So that's not fair. And we've not had an opportunity to look it over, so we object.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Are there any other objections? No. In that case, Mr. Sutherland, would you like to make a representation for why you think we should consider these late papers, and if there are any particular... Oh, sorry, I apologize. I can't see the room very well.
Mrs. Pratt, do you want to...
Go ahead.
Yep.
I wish to object, as I've made it already very, very plain, and also this business of documentation. Why couldn't the links be reached? Because these, they got the advantage. Why should they have the advantage, and why they don't know what we don't know what they're coming out with? So I object anyway. I would have objected, and there's no negotiation going. No way at all, because they've had plenty of time. They've got so many complaints against that establishment already, 23. Now they're telling everybody they're so different. They wasn't any different than anybody else who's been there.
Sorry, do you want to stop
The
it?
same people.
Thank you, sir. I think we've noted your objection. Does anyone else wish to object?
I made that very, very plain. I stand
Yes,
by.
we've understood your objection, sir. Any other objections, please? No. So we've noted 2 objections in the room. Mr. Sutherland, I'd like to give you the opportunity to make your representation for why you think these late papers should be accepted and whether there are any particular reasons for your late submission.
Chair, yes. I'll take the documents separately, if I may. I take slight issue, I think, with your legal advisor. As a matter of law, the documents were not late under the procedure of the Licensing Act and the regulations. I accept that they may not have been in accordance with the council's timetable in relation to the Licensing Act. And so I think the slight difference between us is that I think that whilst as a matter of law, we would say the documents and the video should go in. I accept that I think one of the points that was made by your legal advisor is that you may feel that it's appropriate to adjourn to allow the other parties to consider the late documentation. Let me put it this way in relation to the documentation. The evidence, the report and the documents from DAA Group, who are the acoustic consultants in relation to this matter, those documents are really following on from a series of emails with the noise and nuisance team, and a number of questions were raised by the head of that particular department after some time and delay in getting that information. And that resulted in the additional document from DAA, which addresses those particular questions which were raised by the previous head of the department. In addition, there's a dispersal plan that indicates how the premises will operate in relation to dispersal should the license be granted. And there's a further update to the noise management plan. A copy of the noise management plan was contained within the original report. I think there's some minor changes to it, and it does update that a little. In respect of the video evidence, you've heard quite strongly from residents in relation to complaints that have been made. It, I'm sure, is not a surprise to the committee that the basis of those complaints is not accepted by the operators, and the evidence of the CCTV is taken from the date and roughly wherever we're given a time in respect of those complaints to demonstrate that the number of people inside of the venue are very small. On one occasion, I think it may be 2. On one occasion, it may be 4 or 5. But generally speaking, the numbers of people inside of the venue at the times these complaints are made are very, very small. The final document is in relation to a statement from Ms. Mali, who's the DPS. She is present, is able to give direct evidence herself, and I think it would assist if you're able to see the document, but it's a document, it's evidence that she will give orally, and so if there's a difficulty in relation to that, I wouldn't push that document. If you're not with me in relation to considering the additional documents, or you're minded to put the matter over to another date to consider these additional documents, then I would invite the committee to continue with the hearing this evening, and in relation to any documentation that is not considered, I would have to take elsewhere on another day if that becomes necessary. So I'm not looking, if you're not with me to take the information, I'm not asking you to adjourn it to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sutherland. So now what's going to happen is that the councillors on the subcommittee are going to retire to a separate online room, and we are going to deliberate on our discussion, and then we will come back to this room to share what we've decided to do with these documents. So I think the three of us will leave the room, and we will go to another online room.
Yes, and
Correct.
thank you for that, Chair. Just to let you know, I'm going to need to get a battery pack for the room. So as we adjourn, I will fetch that battery pack.
Okay.
Thank you. So,
All right. So, Councillors Da Costa, Councillor Gunas, a new link has been sent around to the deliberation room, and we'll join that link to go to deliberate on our decision.
Okay, so we'd need to come out of this meeting, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
The adjournment is completed. I think, councillors, are you with us? There's Abella, Da Costa and Gunes, are you there?
Yes, we're all here.
And Mr. Rahman, Mr. Sadiq Rahman, are you there?
Yes,
Yes.
I can see him as well.
Okay, yeah. Back to the chair.
Thank you. So the subcommittee has deliberated on the matter of the documents that were submitted late. We've considered that the Licensing Act allows councils to set their own policies in relation to licensing, and these documents were not submitted in accordance with Haringey Council's procedural rules. We, as a committee, would like to have the time to consider these documents so we can make a decision based on all the information that is available. We've also heard from the two objectors, and our view is that the objectors should also have the opportunity and the time to fully consider these documents. And for this reason, we have decided to adjourn the hearing on Smoky Lounge to a future date. So we will adjourn this hearing to the 24th of February, and we will continue the meeting on the next agenda point in relation to the new premises license at Six Brothers. But we will adjourn the hearing on Smoky Lounge to the 24th of February. So thank you to everyone who has joined us for the Smoky Lounge hearing. Unfortunately, we will have to reconvene at another date due to this development.
Thank you, Chair.
So we will move on now to the next item on the agenda, which is the application for a new
Okay,
premises.
Sorry, Chair, just one thing.
Yes.
Can I ask for an adjournment for a minute so that we can get everyone to leave the building safely?
Yes. Can we just wait online while that happens?
Yes, that's fine.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to take a short break until everyone who needs to leave the room can leave the building safely.
I can get that if you want.
Mr. Baldwin has kindly said that he would ensure that everyone's left safely. So I'm going to trust him. So, Chair, I think if you'd like to, you can call the adjournment to an end, if you like.
Thank you. In that case, we will call the adjournment to an end, and we will proceed with the next agenda item, which is an application for a new premises license at Six Brothers. So let me just, Ms. Barrett, please can you introduce the report for this application?
Thank you, Chair. I shall run through the report, Chair, and understanding that the committee members have already read through the report in fact. So the application is for a new premises license at Six Brothers, situated at 17 West Green Road, N15. The application is made by Mr. Mohammed Rahman and is seeking the ability for the sale of alcohol Monday to Sunday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. With alcohol for off sales only at the premises. The application has met with a representation from the Met Police, and that is attached at Appendix B. In terms of recommendations, the committee may decide, after they've heard from all parties, to grant the application as requested, or to grant the application whilst imposing additional conditions or altering in any way the proposed operating schedule, or to exclude any licence for activities to which the application relates, or to reject the whole or part of the application. The panel is aware that it should provide reasons for whichever recommendation it takes forward. In terms of background, the premises is located in a terrace of shops with residential above. And on page 126 of the report bundle there, you have sections from the licensing policy that the committee is familiar with and is able to consider when in deliberations. Just to highlight, so the application form that's been submitted, you will see on page 141 the various conditions that are put forward. So there are CCTV conditions, refusal log, incident logs, age verification, a challenge 25 scheme, and there's also a section on alcohol delivery and how that would be managed should this application be granted. You also have, Chair, in the pack, the representation from the police who have raised some concerns that could not be agreed, or there was no ability to have agreement between the parties, hence the reason for this particular hearing, Chair. And in closing, Chair, just to remind the panel that the Section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 comes into play here, as does the Human Rights Act. If the panel has any questions for me.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Councillor Da Costa, Councillor Gunas, do you have any questions for Ms. Barrett? Councillor Da Costa.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Dahlia. Just a question for clarity regarding other licensed premises in the vicinity, just with regards to the objection from the police. Are there any other off licensing shops which have an alcohol license from 7 a.m. in the area which you're aware of?
I can assist on that.
Or you've just put yourself on mute, Dahlia.
Thank you. Sorry, Chair. I can certainly take a look and give you that answer momentarily.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Semper, if this is something you'd also like to speak on, perhaps you can include this in your representation when we come to you shortly.
Chair.
We can't hear you, Mr. Semper. You're very muffled.
Is that any better?
Yes, that's much better.
Excellent, thank you.
Ms. Barrett, did you have an answer on that?
No, Chair, I will need to look. Allow me to take a look and I will come back and let you know.
Excellent. We'll come back to you later on once you've had some time to confirm that. We will now hear from the applicant, Mr. Nick Semper. You have 5 minutes to make your representation.
Yeah, I was conscious that I have but 5 minutes to make the case for the grant of this premises licence in the term sought. I'll be extremely brief. This company, Six Brothers Supermarket Limited, through this company, Mo, has applied for a premises license. He's an experienced and successful food retailer seeking authorization to enhance the offering to his existing customer base with a sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises only. Sales would be during normal hours of operation of a business as a convenience store serving the local community with a provision of wide range of groceries and other home produce.
for purchase in the store and available by delivery. The measures and safeguards proposed within the operating schedule are intended to ensure that licensing objectives are robustly promoted. Now, standing against us are solely the police, who observe that this off-licence will be supplying alcohol from 7 in the morning, are located on a high street with several primary schools nearby and one secondary school. On mornings, there will be numerous school children passing by on West Green Road. They think that children on the way to school will routinely see customers purchasing alcohol and standing outside this shop or in the nearby vicinity. They believe that that a licensed premises selling alcohol from 7 every morning undermines the Clear, Hold and Build initiative in Tottenham, which targets individuals causing crime and ASB, thus having an adverse impact on a local community. In order to mitigate the risk of harm to children, they suggest that while the premises may open at 7 in the morning, the supply of alcohol should start at 9. Now, we agreed the police amendment to the conditions regarding CCTV immediately, and to counter their worries, we offered conditions on a without prejudice basis that the licence holders shall join and participate in any active responsible retailing scheme operated in the local area, and that no lager, beer or cider exceeding 6.5 ABV will be stocked or sold, with exception of craft beers and artisan products, no matter what the time of day. Now, the police have objected to our 2 additional proposed conditions, as they conclude that the sale of alcohol at 7 in the morning would risk causing early morning street drinking, and this would be seen by school children passing by. Consequently, we withdraw this offer unless we can secure a 7 a.m. start to licensable activities. Now, Chair and Committee, we don't ask for special treatment. We ask to be treated just like and not be disadvantaged with regard to every other operator in Tottenham. Our understanding is that Sainsbury's nearby is licensed to sell alcohol from 6 in the morning until midnight. West Green Road International at number 42 has a 24-hour licence, as does Atakan Food Centre, along with Anatalia Supermarket, Station Food Express and Wine, 7 Foods Limited, Pop-In Supermarket, and Apex Food Centre on the Seven Sisters Road just round the corner. Every Asda and Tesco in your area starts at 6 a.m. and runs till midnight, and Tesco South, which is a short distance away, has 24 sales throughout December. Keogh's off licence at number 8 West Green Road and Dacia Supermarket at the end of the road have 7 until 11 licences, and several local branches of Asda's can open at 6 a.m. and can trade until midnight. A brief examination of the premises licence register of Harrogate reveals literally hundreds of convenience stores licensed from 7 o'clock in the morning or longer. I actually lost count of them. So why must Six Brothers be treated any differently? It's a legitimate question. Have the premises or this applicant ever sold alcohol responsibly to drunks or children before? There's no evidence before us to say so. If there are street drinking issues in the area, then none of that can be to the detriment of this applicant, as he has sold no alcohol to anyone from these premises to date, and therefore the prior existence of street drinkers in the area cannot go against him in the slightest. Mo has no intention to sell alcohol to the alcohol-enabled perpetrators of antisocial behaviour, as this would result in him appearing back before you on review. Why else would he have offered the condition that we would not stock lager, beer or cider exceeding 6.5% ABV? These are the very products that street drinkers crave, and the very condition we offered, which the police rejected. It should also be noted that neither Trading Standards or Children's Services, the lead responsible authorities for the prevention of crime, prevention of harm to children, licensing objective, they don't object to the grant of this licence with these hours. In my submission, it is not for one responsible authority to stand in the shoes of another. Now, para 10.15 of the 182 guidance clearly states that shops, stores and supermarkets should generally be free to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any times when the retail outlet is open for shopping, unless there are good reasons based on the licensing objectives for restricting those hours. My contention that good reasons to restrict those hours should be based on evidence. Why? Because para 9.43 to section 182 states that your determination should be evidence-based. There is no evidence before you that this applicant operating from 7 o'clock will sell irresponsibly to street drinkers so as to upset children on their way to school. The representation does not deal whatsoever with children seeing the same street drinkers on the way back from school, no matter wherever they source their alcohol.
Mr. Semper, your 5 minutes are up, so
Okay.
I will ask you to pause there. Councillor, thank you. Councillor Da Costa, Councillor Gunas, do you have any questions for Mr. Semper? Councillor Da Costa.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Semper, for answering the question I put to Dahlia as well. can I just find out a little bit? So this is an application for a new license. So what's been happening at the premises? What's the shop been doing prior to application for an alcohol license?
Mo, do you want to tell him? What was at the shop before, mate?
Yeah. Hi. Can you all hear me well? Yeah. So we've been selling groceries, international supermarkets. We've had businesses going well, so we've done a little bit of refurbishment and making space for that. A lot of our customers want to shop in the same place, so hopefully this would provide more growth in our business and hopefully more successful.
Thank you very much. My second question, Chair, if I may, is with regards to the representation from the police about the sort of strengthening section on CCTV cameras in the premises. Are you happy to accept those conditions? It wasn't clear which conditions you were withdrawing, so I just wanted to check with regards to CCTV.
No, we accept the CCTV and accepted it immediately, sir.
Perfect. Thank you. No further questions for myself.
Thank you, Councillor Da Costa. Councillor Gunas, is there anything you'd like to ask? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to sort of what difference would 2 hour, like starting to sell alcohol at 9 o'clock? I think that was the compromise position the police suggested. What differences would that make to the business?
That's a very good question. Right, okay. There are several million people that work in London within the nighttime economy. I had a briefing from your nighttime czar not long ago, and it is in the millions. Now, there's a lot of people going home 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and they might want to stock up with their groceries, and they might want to buy some drink for when they get up in the morning. Similarly, as people going to work or arranging social things at work, they might want to swing by and collect some alcohol on the way to work.
Thank you, Mr. Semper. I have one question. Well, actually, I have two. So my first question is, you said that you have suggested an additional condition that no lager, beer or cider exceeding ABV 6.5% will be stocked or sold, with the exception of craft beers and artisan products. And my question is, will you sell other types of alcohol other than lager, beer or cider that do exceed 6.5%?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Certainly wine does, certainly sherry does, and certainly whiskey does, ma'am.
So what is the logic for limiting this condition to lager, beer and cider?
I
Could
understand.
you explain this to me?
Yes, certainly, Councillor. Certainly, Chair, I should say. Street drinkers. This was an offer that was made without prejudice to the police, but they rejected. So we're revisiting it because we withdraw it as a result of the police not wanting it. The purpose of that condition is this is the very stuff. This is the very product that alcohol-dependent persons who drink in the street seek. They're looking for cheap, about 9%. Tenants Extra, they're looking for Capaci, they're looking for that kind of product. And they tend to buy one can at a time, sometimes funded by begging. But also, if you have a PSPO in your area, a passing police officer like Mr. Peters is well entitled to remove their stock of alcohol from them if they find them drinking in the public place. And therefore, they tend to buy one at a time. So it's the cheap, high-strength beers, lagers and ciders, the White Lightnings of this world and what have you, that they are after.
Thank you. That was thank you for the clarification. Ms. Barrett, I see you've got your hand up. Would you like to come in?
Sorry, it was only just to confirm the timings that Mr. Semper has given. So yes, Sainsbury's local has got a 6 a.m. Dacia 7 a.m. Tottenham Wines has got 8 a.m. 10 a.m. on a Sunday, I believe, sorry, Saturday, and 12 p.m. starting on a Sunday. So, and the others, yes, they do have early opening times and the ability to sell alcohol from early as well.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Mr. Francis, I hope I'm not. Are you Police Constable Francis, Sergeant Francis, how should I introduce you?
PC, just PC.
PC.
Peters.
PC Peters, do you have any questions for Mr. Semper?
Yeah, just one. In relation to a question that you put forward, Councillor, about the alcohol strengths, and obviously wine and sherry and things like that have a stronger alcohol strength than beer and things like that. But I just would like to ask the applicant and his agent whether they'll also be selling vodka, I think things like vodka, whiskey. These are also things that street drinkers also consume. They of course drink beer and cider, but they also, and I've stopped several that do drink vodka, cider, vodka, rum, whiskey. Will those be sold?
Yes, they will be, but there's been a lot of research into what kind of products these alcohol dependent people prefer. Okay. And there's some science around that, and if I realised I'd be taking questions on it, I would have served that on the panel beforehand. Wine, strangely enough, is very, very low. Spirits are too strong and they need to be watered down. Like I say, the optimum hit that they want is that's over 6.5 to 9%. That is why there is a nationwide initiative called Super Strength, which where places that are blighted with an indigenous street drinking population ask that retailers do not sell beer, wine or cider, beer, lager or cider over 6.5. That's a national initiative, that is.
Thank you, Mr. Semper. Ms. Barrett?
Sorry, Chair, can I just to give some, I suppose, some insight and background there. So yes, reduced to strength has been around for many years, and you know, when you've got an area that is blighted by your regular street drinkers, that's one thing. But Haringey does have an additional problem of certain cultures that are doing street drinking, and as PC Peters has said, they do drink the stronger stuff. They are actually out there with the bottles of spirits, and it becomes a gathering, and you know, it's that kind of a situation. So this is not your regular assumed street drinkers that you would see out and so forth. It's we do also have the cultural street drinking that takes place as well along West Green Road, and it has been a cause for concern that we've had to try and address along that road, and also along the high road N17.
Certainly, and that is why we've offered to join any street pub watch or off watch or any other business crime retail initiative, so that those who are banned from drinking in the streets, subject of licensed premises restriction orders, subject of CRASBOs and ASBOs to keep them away from alcohol, they can be circulated by the police. I've got to stress that, well, he can speak for himself, but Mo has no interest in retailing alcohol to the alcohol dependent, antisocial street drinkers. That's very, very bad for business. First of all, you get a review, but secondly, you fill your shop with all sorts of people that you don't necessarily want in there who are going to put off your avatar customer. So those were the offers we made, but they were rejected, and here we are.
Thank you, Mr. Semper. Councillor Da Costa?
Apologies for coming in late with these couple of more questions. You mentioned in your you mentioned in your submission that you're happy to join sort of the responsible retailer schemes within Haringey Council. One of those that we have is the Responsible Retailer Plus, which is sort of slightly more enhanced than the Responsible Retailer scheme. And it mentions the Responsible Retailer Plus scheme mentions a couple of the things you have highlighted, for example, the super strength lagers, beers and ciders, but also includes things such as not selling single cans of lager, beer or cider, not selling bottles of lager, beer or cider that are smaller than 330 ml or have been separated from multi-packs, not selling bottles of spirits that are smaller than 350 millilitres, taking part in a no street drinking zone, etc. So I've sort of covered the highlights of it with regards to single packs and small bottles. Would that, I mean, that is slightly enhanced of what you mentioned in your no prejudice towards the police, but would you accept those conditions, for example, on bottle size, can size, and pack size?
Only Mo can answer that one. Mo, you've heard what the Retailer Plus scheme entails. Would you be prepared to go with that?
Yeah, we would potentially, yeah, we could do that. We could do that. Yeah, I've listened to what you've all said, and yeah, I'm completely against street drinking and that sort. Obviously, for business, maintaining business and continuous customers coming into your business, you need to have a certain standard. So I always try to maintain a level of business, level of customer satisfaction in my business is to deny street drinkers and any of nuisance.
Thank you, Mr. Rahman. Do you have any further questions, Councillor Da Costa?
Oh, no, sorry, I should have muted myself. Apologies.
Thank you. So we will now hear from those who have submitted representations. So we have PC Peters with us today. You have 5 minutes as well. Please go ahead.
Good evening. So yeah, as a police officer, I'm objecting to this application purely as has been summarised by Mr. Semper, just because of the early start time. I am aware that there are other off-licence shops on West Green Road that do sell alcohol from an earlier time, or at the 7 o'clock start time. And however, I do feel that 7 o'clock without, even with the other premises, is still quite an early time. It's still a very early time, and that does come with issues, and it will come with issues for the local community. I feel for the local community, and that this can be witnessed in the streets. The Six Brothers shop has been there, I understand, as a grocery shop for many years, and I've done my checks, and I see no problems with Mr. Rahman, and I identify no issues. However, I think the start time is quite early. It is in a residential premises. There are already a number of off licenses there, and I do feel that starting at 7, when there are so many other off licenses, I think it will cause a problem of antisocial behaviour, and it could add to the crime of the local area. There are many premises that start at 7 or at 6, but there are also some further along West Green Road that may open at 7 in the morning, but actually start selling alcohol at 9 in the morning. I did a bit of research, and I see that today's Express at 102, from what I see, can start at 7 in the morning, but can only sell alcohol from 9 in the morning. And the same for Freshway at numbers between 104 and 106. West Green Road also opens at 7, sells alcohol from 9. I'm only asking for a modest reduction of licensing hours. I think to limit the problem of any public nuisance that might be caused, and crime and disorder that could be caused from the early sales of alcohol. And I just have in mind that children walking past, there are several schools in the area, and secondary schools, and obviously West Green Road on the eastern end, you have Seven Sisters Station, so the footfall and the pedestrians walking up and down that street is quite significant, and especially at the Seven Sisters end, there's a lot of other off licenses there, and I'm concerned that another off license in that area could contribute to any public nuisance and crime and disorder in that area. Thank you. That is my submission.
Thank you, PC Peters. Councillor Da Costa, Councillor Gunas, do you have any questions for PC Peters?
Oh, and apologies. To clarify, Mr. Semper mentioned that, just to say clarification, Mr. Semper mentioned that I have rejected their offer of the suggestion of no lager or beer or cider exceeding 6.5% ABV, or that the license holder will participate in any responsible retailer scheme operating in the area. No, I don't reject it. I welcome it. I think it's a positive step. And if he's willing to volunteer that, then of course I'd support it. I wouldn't reject that.
Thank you. That's a helpful clarification. Any questions for PC Peters?
Just to add some balance to that, the Those offers were made
At
in
this
exchange
stage, it's about asking
what's the question?
questions. If
Okay,
there's
fine.
more you'd like to add, you'll have time in your concluding remarks to do that, Mr. Semper. I'll ask one question, PC Peters. Have you had any, as the local police, have you had any problems with Mr. Rahman's establishment before?
No, I've checked to see if any incidents or any police calls to the area, and that there are none.
Thank you. That's helpful information for us. Mr. Semper, do you have any questions specifically for PC Peters?
No, it's nothing you're in. It's nothing in summary.
We can't hear you very well.
Let's try again. It's nothing I can't deal with in summary. Is that okay?
Yes, that's clear. Thank you. So in that case, we will move to each party to sum up. Mr. Semper, could you sum up your position, please?
I think it's usual that the applicant goes last, ma'am. Am I right on that?
Naz, did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, yes, Chair. I think that's perfectly fine for PC Peters to summarise first, and for Mr. Semper to sum up last. That's okay.
Thank you. In that case, we will follow that order. PC Peters, could you summarise your position, please?
Okay. As you've just heard, I have no information that Mr. Rahman is or has run a shop as a groceries in a bad way. There haven't been no police calls there, and the issue and the application is otherwise a sound one. Really, the issue is about just the early opening time. I feel that alcohol sales from 7 in the morning is quite early, and I think it can. There are several other off licenses in the area, and an additional one I think could contribute to public nuisance and crime and disorder. So that's why I oppose it, and I think and I oppose it.
Thank you, PC Peters. Mr. Semper, could you kindly sum up your position?
I just want to make sure you can hear me first. We okay?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, right. Picking up on a couple of things from PC Peters. He wanted 7 o'clock. We offered those conditions to placate him, but he wasn't placated, and therefore, because they're made on a without prejudice basis, they were withdrawn. It is up to you whether you have them or not, Chair. That's the first thing. Secondly, he tells us there's quite a few down there already, and therefore there's no need for another. I'd point to your legal advisor already knows, but I'd point you to para 14.19, which says that need, or in this case, no need for another, is not a matter for the licensing authority in discharging their duties. He seems to think that there might be issues if another license is issued. My understanding is there isn't a cumulative impact assessment or policy in place for that area. So I'm not, I don't think, well, with respect, a ban like that on one more cannot be correctly applied. I'd point you to your lawyer to the stated case of Thwaites and Wirral Magistrates, where Honour Justice Blackman said that your decision should be not only evidence-based, but should be based on proper and real evidence. With respect, there is no proper and real evidence, apart from the fact that Mr. Rahman doesn't cause any problems. So look, this isn't a review. This hearing is simply about whether this modest convenience store operating in accordance with the operating schedule before you, including the comprehensive raft of conditions, is likely to undermine or promote the licensing objectives. Very clearly, it's our position it won't undermine them, and Trading Standards and Children's Services, who lead on protection of children from harm, raise no issues with its substance content and the additional inbuilt safeguards. There's no recorded history or indelible evidence of any issues or indeed any other cause for concern involving this applicant, these premises or any other premises operated before him in the past. That is an undeniable and self-evident fact. We fail to understand why this applicant should be treated any different than any other operator, and I've listed the many just in the near vicinity, not across. I haven't got time to do the whole of Haringey. We don't understand why it should be treated any different by a fair and equal fair and equal borough, as per your mission statement, repeated in your statement of licensing policy. This is just speculation that it might cause problems, and in my my submission, fear and speculation at their might is insufficient reason or grounds to treat it differently than the countless many other businesses in the area, and therefore consequently I respectfully request that you do indeed grant this application for the premises licence as sought, supported by that comprehensive raft of effective conditions and any others that you deem appropriate and proportionate. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, panel.
Thank you, Mr. Semper. We will now bring this meeting to a close. It just falls on me to remind you that the committee will deliberate on its decision after this meeting, and this will be provided within 5 working days of the meeting. So we'll bring this meeting to a close, but I'll remind the committee members to stay on so that we can deliberate on our decision. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Bye bye.